So Myers-Briggs test is basically a personality test that focuses on four different areas. You know, your level of extroversion, if you're more of a thinker, a feeler, if you're also more of um, analyst, or are you more of just, kind of a perspective kind of person, more philosophical in that sense. This test, or personality test, sometimes can help you match with a partner, a correct partner, in terms of romantic relationship.
The it says sensation, intuition, feeling, and thinking. That's bringing back some memories because I took it a long time ago, my undergrad, and it was created by Carl Jung, psychiatrist, an early
Ooh.
psychiatrist who was more in the leaning towards psychoanalytical, which was Sigmund Freud when he started that. But Carl Jung is very interesting. Jordan Peterson talks about him a lot. Everyone knows that who listens to him. Carl Jung is, I find him fascinating. I didn't find him as fascinating until I heard Jordan Peterson get more into it. And now I'm wanting to learn more about him. And I was reading one of his books called The Red Book. Not to get too far off topic, but just briefly, like
Mhm.
the Red Book, Carl Jung talks about like archetypes and symbols, the collective unconscious, where all these symbols are stored across thousands of years of generations and passed down through stories and now movies. But yeah, it's interesting how he's tried to categorize all the symbols that humanity creates to understand the world. And so it kind of makes sense that he creates this personality test with looks like Isabel Briggs Myers, yeah, to try to figure out our personality. Like maybe it's somewhat symbolic when he was putting it together, like sensation, intuition, feeling, thinking.
One of the things that I was finding out, based on the research that different websites had created, was that most of the time, or at least part of the time, a lot of the personalities that would match would tend to be opposites of each other. Of course, who wants to be living with somebody that is the same person? That just kind of blows away the fact that you know there could be anything interesting, or anything to learn from, anything to show from a different perspective, right? If we both see the world the same way, then what am I gonna learn? I already know that personally, right? And so, what do you think about that, Steele? Like, is that something that any psychologist has mentioned, or anything that kind of catches your attention?
Yeah, I don't know if any psychologist has mentioned this off the top of my head, but I do know that like it makes sense when you think about it because it makes sense when you apply it to personality, I think, in some way. Now, like one thing that makes sense to me immediately, and then jumping into psychology after that, is immediately I think introversion and extroversion from the Myers-Briggs. It makes sense that an introvert would be maybe enjoying their company more of an extrovert because the extrovert naturally fills the silence that an introvert brings. Not to say that introverts are always silent, but when the introvert is less likely to talk, the extrovert's going to start the conversation and keep it going. Whereas the introvert, if there's an introvert and an introvert, like you were mentioning before, this was, if there's two introverts, they may not keep the conversation going. It might fall flat and it might stop, prematurely. Whereas if there's two extroverts, what you were saying is right. Like what
They
would
might
happen?
drain each other out, yeah,
Yeah,
by constantly just
yeah,
talking.
talking to each other, draining each other's energy. Even though it's interesting because extroverts get energy from other people, introverts it's the opposite.
Mhm.
They get drained by other people. So that also brings in the question of would the
And
extrovert
it's also because it's very interesting in the personality test. There's different levels of extroversion, different personalities, or different combinations of personalities, because there's like four sections, and the combinations, depending on the combination, it goes to reflect different levels of introversion or extroversion. One of the things that I've noticed also, with my girlfriend right now, is that I was doing a personality test, to see what personality best fit, with my potential partner, or what would be the personality that most fit with my Myers-Briggs test. And she happens to have the personality that most matches
oh, so that makes
my
sense.
personality, which is pretty crazy, right? Like, because it said that her personality itself is very rare. I think hers is INFJ. We match in the N and the F, which the F, I think it's the feeler. We were both feelers. We feel compassion for other people, because some people tend to be more analytical. And then we also match in the N, which I don't know what specifically that was. It's almost as if we're kind of predetermined to find specific people that match our personality, or or at least that balance out our personality. Because when we talk about matching, we automatically think of finding someone that's completely like us, right? Like does the same things and stuff like that. But I think in order to be an actual connection, not just a compatibility aspect, there needs to be something more than that. It's the mixture, the combination of personalities, the combination of
Sure.
lifestyles, the combination of beliefs.
Yeah, you pointed out that even though you and your girlfriend were slightly opposite on some things, there was at least I think two things you pointed out that you were the same or at least very similar on. So it's not completely the
Mhm.
opposite. It's and maybe it's not fair to say it's the opposite, but maybe it's more fair to say um
It
like
balances.
balancing. Yeah, maybe it's balancing. Like some of it's some differences and then some similarities, just enough. Because if you want to go to psychology, social psychology says like people who are similar to each other, the more similar they are, maybe not perfectly, but similarities tend to attract more than people who are not similar to each other. But just in
Mm,
almost everything, friendships, relationships, like in terms of physical appearance, like people who are similar in appearance be more likely to sit next to each other, to talk to each other. Like, even if you pick up on because this as a communications, we're both communication majors. Nonverbals doesn't just mean moving around; it means the clothing we wear. So
yeah,
someone wearing I don't know, a baseball cap with their favorite
like a
basketball.
hot pink or something.
Yeah, like or like their favorite basketball team, right? And they see someone else wearing their favorite basketball team shirt.
Mm,
They're more likely to
yeah.
sit next to each other than someone who's just wearing no hat at all and they're just wearing a t-shirt, because it's similar is kind of attractive a little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I think that goes to show that, because like